No matter what, let the fails begin. No matter what, may the worst man win. No matter what, we're gonna fail together. Who matter what, we'll be failures forever. You have failed. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of You Have Failed with me, SaiyanVader. Where this week we are back and discussing a topic that, it winds me up a bit, little bit. I rant about it often, maybe a bit too often, but it is dumb, so it deserves it. But before we get into that, I will obviously start, as always, with an announcement for Black Lives Matter, which is obviously still an ongoing thing and has been for a long time. And just because you're not seeing it in the media as much anymore, with the likes of COVID and Trump catching COVID, that's clearly taken over the news at the moment and really dragging away from one of the serious problems, which is still the fact that Black lives are still oppressed out there. And if you don't believe that, then go fuck yourself, because they are. It's an issue worldwide, and ways you can help that are by going to www.blacklivesmatter.com, where you can find out ways to either help monetarily or non-monetarily, or just find other links to resources where you can help to educate yourself. And when you take to social media, if you are bringing up one of these issues, or you just feel like bringing up one of the issues, or someone else has and you feel like talking about it, make sure to obviously use the hashtag BLM or hashtag Black Lives Matter to keep the conversation going, to keep fighting until we can make a significant change. But with that out the way, we shall get back into the episode proper. And this week, right. So as you know very much, I'm a massive fan of Yu-Gi-Oh, both the actual card game and the anime series and the manga. So not both, because I forgot about the manga as well. But I do love the manga as well. Um, Obviously grew up on the anime, grew up playing the card game with my friends, and I still play the card game with my friends now. Still a massive Seto Kaiba fan and Blue Eyes White Dragon fan, as I'm sure you all know. In fact, the wallpaper on my laptop that I'm looking at right this second is of Seto Kaiba. Um, and so yeah, I'm a massive fan. Obviously, I grew up with the dub, and I will say now I still stand by the dub, right? Because despite some of the changes they made and hints of what we're talking about today, the voice actors they got were fantastic. The likes of Dan Green and Eric Stewart were fantastic as Yugi and Kaiba, respectively, and all the rest of the cast were brilliant, and they did fantastic jobs with the material they were given. However, today I suppose we're going to be talking more about the material they were given, but not just the anime in particular. We're going to be talking about censorship in Yu-Gi-Oh, by the way, in case you hadn't worked that out yet. But not just censorship in the show, but censorship in the card game itself, because it's so dumb. Like, I can't stress how fucking stupid some of this shit is, right? So I will say, right, actually, we'll get the positives out of the way first, right? Because I will say there's one major change between the English dub and the original Japanese sub that I think is fantastic, right? And it's a change that actually, when you think about it, makes the whole situation a lot darker and probably more disturbing. When all four kids were trying to do was trying to make it more child friendly, they actually made it worse technically. But I think it's a brilliant change, and it's quite an iconic change. It's a change that a lot of people who probably grew up with the dub who are listening don't realise wasn't in the original, and that is that the Shadow Realm didn't exist in the manga or the Japanese version, right? The Shadow games are a thing, obviously, because that was a big part of the show, but the Shadow Realm itself wasn't real. In the original manga or the original anime, what happened when you lost a Shadow game is that you died. Just you dead. Zip zip none. You're dead. You're gone. Might as well have been shot in the face, right? You're dead. But in the dub, because obviously children in the West can't handle death because that's bad, what they did was they introduced instead the Shadow Realm. So, no, the characters aren't dead, they just go to the Shadow Realm instead. Well, what's the Shadow Realm, you may ask? Well, the Shadow Realm is a place where basically your body is basically in a coma. So, you're still alive, essentially, but in a coma state. And your mind is sent to a dimension of basically eternal torment and suffering. It's basically like a constant living nightmare where you're constantly being tortured mentally, and it's horrible. I mean, when you weigh the two up, you've got dead, eternal nightmare and torture. Dead, eternal nightmare and torture. I think I know which one I'd prefer. I mean, neither sound great, but I mean, so in a weird way, in trying to sort of shadow, no, that's a bad word, trying to cover the kids' eyes from death, they introduced them to flat out hell, but really, really bad hell. Like, I think I'd rather go to hell than be stuck in the shadow realm. It sounds awful. Like, it's it's really bad, really, really bad. Like, so it's weird, and don't get me wrong though, I love the Shadow Realm. I think it was a brilliant addition. It adds more layers than just, oh, they're dead. No, this is more dire, if anything. And it adds a new layer to Shadow games, because when they go into this place for Shadow games, they're now in the Shadow Realm, and that's why damage is real. It's not just a Shadow game. It added more layers in a way, and I think the Shadow games were done fantastically. However, that's probably where the good censorship ends, because then you get to things like, oh god, so any religious symbols were removed, and I'm not just talking about the anime now, I'm talking about the card game as well. Monster Reborn, that classic Monster Reborn art. Yeah, that doesn't actually look like a weird ribbony thing in the original Japanese. It looks more like a, to be fair, it doesn't even, I mean, it does resemble a crucifix, but it looks more like an Egyptian symbol, to be fair. But because it resembles a crucifix in some way, that's not allowed. In deeply Catholic America, deep Christian America, that is bad. Any angels that have halos on them in the card or in the show, they're gone, because that's bad. A lot of monsters had horns removed from them, because horns are bad, because that's a sign of the devil, even though you've already got the Shadow Realm. And other things, and you literally have Egyptian gods, implying there is some sort of religious thing there, but that's fine. That's good, as long as it's not Catholicism, because that's bad in America for some reason. But it's not just that. I mean, to be fair, any pentagrams are removed. They're bad. Oh, paganism's bad. Ooh. And oh, look, oh, and then you've got any pagan symbols, they're gone. That's not allowed. The bit where Exodia comes out, and the first one, Exodia, obliterate! When he comes out, that's not actually just multiple triangle things. That's actually meant to be a pentagram, but that's gone. The thing on Exodia's chest was changed. It looked too much like a cross. The Dark Magician girl's little pendant was changed. I'm pretty sure it had a pentagram on it. The same with Dark Magician of Chaos. That was changed because that looked like a pentagram. Oh, it's very bad. This is the game that, by the way, even with all these censors, was considered to be a satanic ritual by some deep southern parents anyway. So I don't think the changes would have made a difference, right? And then you're like, oh no, we need to censor these kids. They can't have anything to do with death. Yet the discard pile in the actual game is called the graveyard. You are insinuating that when these monsters are defeated, they are being killed and sent to the graveyard, right? That's the premise of the game. That's one of the core mechanics of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is when a monster is beaten in battle and destroyed, bear in mind card text actually specifies destroyed, they are sent to the graveyard. And they don't like paganism, but when you tribute summon a monster, you tribute or sacrifice another monster. So you're doing a sacrifice to get another one, killing it, because you're sending it to the graveyard to summon a stronger one, right? So you can't really avoid this in this game, because I don't know if you know, the original name for the game was actually called Witches and Wizards. The whole premise is it's two wizards, or a witch and a wizard, depending on your gender, obviously, and they are facing off, summoning monsters, casting spells, setting traps in an attempt to kill the other player and reduce their life points to 0. That is the origin of the game, and that is why these monsters are doing battle. That's why they're being sent to the graveyard if they die, because it's basically your soldiers being killed. So it's basically like, I always say Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like sort of chess, but with cards. That's basically the game. So yeah, you can't really avoid these sort of paganistic ritual Christian things when you've got things like graveyard and sacrifice as literally part of your game. But that's fine, because censors, they don't get much worse. By the way, can we also point out the fact that killing is bad, but they don't skip over the fact that Bakura's entire village was basically slaughtered to create the Millennium Item. That's fine. Slaughter, that's fine. Slaughter is fine, but killing one homicide's bad. And don't get me wrong, like some things, like you don't want to see, maybe you do, but maybe watching child Marek possessed by Yami Marek stab his father to death and get whipped beforehand, maybe that's a bit too graphic for kids, and I can maybe see why that wasn't allowed. But then, what, but then there's just some things I'm like, but why? Like, I know fight scenes are removed. There were scenes with the duel between Mai and Marek that were completely removed because they were torturous. But then you've got other slight things. So you've got, right, I get that the Harpy ladies in the original artwork, they're wearing quite skimpy outfits. So I get maybe changing that not to sexualize them, fine, whatever, that's cool, okay, right? But then on their armor, I think, I can't think of the name of the armor, the name of the card that gives them battle armor. There were spikes on it, and there were spikes on the breastplates, but because they look too much like nipples, even though they're just spikes on metal armor, they were removed. By the way, go for kids, right? And there's just, I mean, there are other things as well. Like there's a bit in the Dawn of the Duel arc, the final one, where Zork. Jeez, I've got Arc 5 in my head. That's because I've got another point relating to Arc 5 in my head at the moment about more censorships. But so Zork literally. By the way, because Zork's dragon mouth thing looks too much like a penis, they gave him this massive tumor thing. Genuinely, if you're listening to this, while you're listening, go and Google Zork from Yu-Gi-Oh, but the Japanese version and then the dub version, and see how, don't get me wrong, it did look a bit penisy because it was in the crotchy area, it had a dragon mouth coming out of it, like on a long neck, but whatever. In the English version, they just cover it up by basically adding a mountain to Zork's chest and the head comes out. Honestly, it looks so bad. But anyway, when Zork then bites into the Blue Eyes White Dragon to kill it, right, the whole thing is sort of blurred. They had this weird blue blur effect over where the bite is as Zork rips the head off the neck of the dragon. Don't get me wrong, it's quite brutal, but I mean, we've seen monsters be cut down before in duels. I don't get what was much different here. Like, you've literally seen the Blue Eyes White Dragon decapitated before. There was literally, in Duelist Kingdom, where Celtic Guardian cuts off one of the heads of Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, you literally see that happen, but when it's Zork, no, that's bad. You can't see that happen. Maybe it's because the Blue Eyes was a good guy that time. I don't know. Yeah, right. So, but there are some times where the Shadow Realm is a bit forced upon you, though. Now I think about it, right? There's the bit where you've got the tag duel between Loomis and Umbra, and Kaiba and Yugi, and they're like, "Oh, look, this the gap between this glass and the floor, many stories down, is a space into the Shadow Realm. If you fall, you'll get sent to the Shadow Realm," which is a really bad way of hiding the fact of, in the Japanese, it was, no, if you lose, the glass beneath you shatters and you fall to your death. That's what that was, but so that's where the Shadow Realm didn't really work in those scenarios. They maybe could have found a better way to explain that. But there's also the bit where Yugi's dueling, what's his face, the other magician-y guy, other magician-y guy, what, yeah, you know what I mean. No, I can't think of his name. I don't care. But the other Dark Magician guy, right? And in the original dub, there were saws, and every time they lost life points, the giant rotating chainsaws would move closer to them, and then the loser would have their legs chopped off essentially and be killed, right? But in the dub, they literally remove the saws, edit in these really dodgy blue energy blades, and if it hits you, you get sent to the Shadow Realm. That's where the Shadow Realm doesn't work. The concept is fantastic in like a Shadow game where Marek can send you there, or Pegasus, or this, that, and the other. But when you're just a random henchman and you've got a resort to a blade being turned into blue energy thing, that's not good. Like it's just bad. And I mean, speaking of Marek, his goal was changed as well. In the original dub, he it was flat out, he just wanted revenge on the Pharaoh. He wanted to kill the Pharaoh because he blamed him for everything that went wrong in his life, even though technically it was an evil version of himself. But in the dub version, it's just, no, I want world domination. Yeah, yeah, and it's, I mean, it's great, but you're removing the key point of his character is how much he hates the Pharaoh. But then you keep in the fact that he hates the Pharaoh, but he never does anything with it in the dub. And Dubby's like, I hate you, Pharaoh, but to get back at you, I'll just take over the world. I'm not going to kill you at all. And I'm like, just a bit dumb, mate, innit? Like, come on. Like, it's a bit stupid. Also, this is a really irrelevant censor, but I just thought of this, and I'm literally just ranting at this point. I'm sure you've noticed, right? So, Yugi's mum, right? She exists! Yugi has parents, and in the Japanese version, she does appear for like a scene or two. You actually see Yugi has a mum. But obviously, in the dub, that was cut for some reason because, but then again, I mean, American daytime TV, I mean, did any main character have parents? I mean, Ash Ketchum, I don't, I, but yeah, she does appear, she does exist, but yeah, she just is never shown. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, okay. No, I'm thinking of some bangers now. This is all coming back to me about how dumb this shit is. So, I'll start with Alistair, season 4, the series where nothing makes sense. That just nothing. Don't. Season 4's a mess. Brilliant duels and set pieces. Don't get me wrong, but everything else is a bit dumb. So you have. Oh no, there are loads in season 4. I just remembered Alistair's backstory. You know, in the dub. Oh, my brother was kidnapped by Gozaboro's tanks. In the original, no, your brother was killed, like dead. He's dead, and that makes a lot more sense. Well, if he's kidnapped, it's like, well, you can find him. If he's dead, you're like, no, I can get why you're so angry. I mean, you'd be angry if your brother was kidnapped anyway, but like, he's definitely fueling a lot of rage towards Kaiba instead of actively looking to save his brother. Whereas in the Japanese, it makes a lot more sense. Well, he can't save him; he's dead, so he's going to try and get his revenge on Seto Kaiba for it, which is great. Then you've got Raphael, right? This is okay. So obviously the dual disc that we know it was invented by Kaiba just before Battle City, in between that and Duelist Kingdom, right? So how comes in Raphael's flashback, when he's with Darts on the deserted island, when he digs, he finds a Noricalco's dual disc? How is this possible when dual discs haven't been invented yet? Well, that's because in the original version, what he finds when he digs are the skulls of his dead parents. Yeah, the dead parents that he buried there after their boat sank. Yeah. So that's why that's dumb, because the dub was like, well, we can't show dead parents, so we need to replace it with something. Quick, let's add something that hasn't been invented yet into a flashback of the past. And it's like, you know what? That shit works. And you know what? It doesn't. It's so fucking dumb, right? Like, just why? Why? Yeah, and then, okay, you've got the Ouija board cards as well, which, oh no, Ouija board, that's cultist, that shouldn't be allowed anyway, right? So obviously you've got the Destiny board, and in the Japanese version, the letters spell out D-E-A-T-H. Don't know if you know what that spells? That spells death. But because you can't have death in a children's show, they change it to F-I-N-A-L. Ooh, final. Ooh, such a scary word. Ooh, no, it's... Why? It's And then you've got other things, right? This is what I don't get. So in the original Yu-Gi-Oh anime, and even ones following, right? If a warrior has a sword, yes, ooh, sword, no censorship. They're allowed swords, right? But then you get Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5, and I know most of this has been about duel monsters so far, but it's just still, hear me out. You've got the edge in sabers is censored, so you can't see the blades on the scissors. It's just a glowy blue thing. And I'm like, but, so, you're not allowed scissors, but that geezer's allowed a sword. You're not allowed scissors, but that geezer's allowed a scythe, or an axe, or whatever Vorse Raider has, or spears, or any other weapons, with the exception of one weapon, but we'll get to that, don't you worry. We will get to that soon. It's just a bit like, why? I still don't, why? Why is Edge Sobers a censored card? But then you've got other cards, so obviously, as I said, anything sort of skimpy or revealing is removed. For Dark Magician Girl, they sort of edit out her cleavage so she doesn't have boobs anymore, which, on the one hand, I get, you don't want to sexualise a character, even though she's the most sexualised Yu-Gi-Oh card in existence. Whatever. I don't know why people are doing that over a card, but good for you. Like, I love Blue Eyes, but not that much, right? And so you've got that, right? And it's just a bit like, okay, so you've removed that, fine, but then at the same time, like, is that then properly representing a female? Because, I mean, females have boobs. That's an argument. I don't know. I don't really care, to be fair, but it's just stupid censorship, right? And then I forgot where I was going with this point. So it's about that. No, more skimpy stuff. Yeah, so then there's another card. I can't think of the name of it. It's sort of a spy, and he's meeting with a woman on the card. I think it's a trap card. And, right, so in the dub, she has... No, in the original, she's got like, you know, on those dresses where it's sort of cut up the sides, so you can sort of see their leg on just like one side of the dress, right? So it's not that revealing, it's a leg. No, that's not allowed. That was all covered up. To be fair, a lot in that scene was changed. The guy drinking wine is no longer drinking wine because alcohol's not allowed, apparently. Although I get it's a game for kids, but like, whatever. But no, you can't see a human leg. Human legs are bad. And then you've got the geezer in Imperial Order and all the other cards like that. In the Japanese one, he's not wearing a shirt. He's just wearing his cape and crown and trousers. But no, that's not allowed. You can't show a fat man on a card. So what do? They give him a vest. He's got a white vest in all the. Sorry, I just hit my desk in fury. He just wears a vest, right? It's dumb. It's so yeah, dumb. Any monsters that look like they're naked, bear in mind they're monsters. They're not human. They don't need it. They would tend to shade the bottom half of them a different color to make it look like they're wearing trousers, so it's acceptable. But why? What is the point? Okay, right now I'm going to take a moment to go speak about our sponsors just to cool me down a bit because I feel like I need this for a second, and then I'll speak about the two most annoying ones in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? So, okay. Now a word from our sponsors. Have you heard of King Stars Apparel? Well, you should have because they're great. They have so many great lines and other things. I'm still full of rage. No, they have great collections. There's the Failure Wear collection, which is yours truly, for the brilliant shirts designed by King's Eyes himself. He does a brilliant job. I'm currently wearing my SaiyanVader one now, which is obviously me. Hi, hello. It's a brilliantly designed shirt, and so many others. My favourite one, personally, at the moment, from my collection, which is probably my favourite overall, is, oh no, I haven't received this one yet. I've got the Dr. Failure one, or the Failure Who one. I can never remember what the actual title of it is. There's sort of two unofficial titles. There's also the Church of Frog Ninja one, which should be arriving within the next couple of days. I haven't got that one yet, but I'd say those two are my favourite. But you have other great collections as well. You have the Clansman Unite collection, you have the Statement collection, and you have the Creators of King's Eyes collection, with loads more on the way. We're constantly in talks with more ideas and more designs. I'm not going to spoil anything, but we do have some good ideas planned coming in the future for King's Eyes Apparel. So do go check that out, guys, and support your favourite creators in the best way you can by buying their merch. And you know what? If you buy one of my shirts, why not tweet me on Twitter, which is at VaderSaiyan, or join my Discord. Link to that is the pinned tweet on my Twitter, and send me a picture of you wearing the Failure Wear shirts. But also make sure to follow the Twitter page for this show, which is at You Have Failed SV, which is the best way to keep up to date on when episodes are going up, or if there will be a missed episode, or if anything is going on with the show. But I would also actually like to take this time to say a big congratulations to everyone else on Sigil Arts as well, as we did just reach 2,000 lifetime listens since we moved to Captivate as a way of getting our podcasts out there. So big congratulations to everyone, obviously, across my two shows. I love everyone who listens to my podcasts, and thank you to everyone who listens to everyone else who is a part of Sigil and getting us up to 2,000. It's not been long since we hit 1,000, so it's incredible that we have got 2,000 already. So thank you all so much. And in fact, this show is, what, last I checked, which was just before recording this, 7 shy of 600 on its own, which is incredible. So thank you so much for your continued support. Yeah, thank you so much. So please, if you do enjoy it, join the Discord or join the Twitter to interact with me more closely, especially the Discord. We can have actual conversations in there. You can get involved in the podcast, some questions and answers, and actually have people on the podcast one day by doing Discord voice calls, and just interact with me more personally. And obviously follow the Twitter to keep up to date with the show and everything that is going on with it. But without further ado, we are going to get back into my rage-fueled rant at why censorship is dumb, and whilst I still love Yu-Gi-Oh! So much, it kind of is a bit stupid. So before I get into my big one that's going to make me really angry, and I don't get why they censored it, considering the country this was originally airing in, well, the dub was originally airing in, we're going to talk about the cards themselves, right? So, and I don't mean just changes made to individual cards. I mean the single change that was made to every single card in the anime, right? So, I don't know if you've played actual Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, I've got my Blue Eyes deck sitting next to me as I record this for some reason. Give me luck and maybe keep me calm, which hasn't worked. So, obviously, in real life, the cards are laid out in a very particular way. You've got the name of the card up the top, then you've got the level in stars starting from the right side of the card, then you have the little art box. Below you've got a description or the effect description, and then under that you've got the attack and defense values in the bottom right corner. Right, it's a pretty neatly laid out card, and obviously if you look at the designs, they are meant to look like stone tablets, as sort of related to the origins of the Shadow Games in the manga, which is from ancient Egypt. That's why they do resemble that, with like the borders around the name and everything meant to be stone tablety, and that's why the original card colours for vanilla monsters were like a rockish, yellowish colour. And that is, by the way, if you didn't know, the inspiration behind the designs of Yu-Gi-Oh cards are meant to look like stone tablets. like they would have in ancient Egypt when the Shadow games were played in Yu-Gi-Oh! And maybe in real life, fingers crossed. I still want real life dual discs. This is a serious thing. Please, someone. I've got an idea for how to do it. Please, someone get me in touch with Konami. I've got a brilliant idea for how to bring like sort of duels like in the show to real life. It's a genius idea. I just need to pitch it to them and have a tech guy who knows how to work out all the technicality side of it. I've got a brilliant idea. Please, someone get me in touch with Konami right now. Anyway, so moving on. Yes, so that's obviously the quite famous card design, but if you've watched the anime, you know it's very different. What it is like 3/4 of the card is taken up by the card image. Then you have the level in stars, and then you have big boxes for attack and defense. Now, obviously, this is very different to how the cards are laid out. And if you've got a spell card, you just have image and then spell symbol, or trap, it's image, then trap symbol, right? So the big thing that I always found as a kid, I was like, well, how do they read the cards? Like, there's no text on it. How do you know what all these cards do? And I know you can memorize them, that's great, but how do you know in the first place if there's no text on the cards to tell you what the effect is? Obviously, vanilla monsters is not a problem because, I mean, they don't have effects, but for effect monsters, spells, and traps, you need to know what they do. Especially Pot of Greed. No one knows what Pot of Greed... Someone tell me what Pot of Greed does! I'm still confused all these years later. Anyway, I digress from Yu-Gi-Oh! Memes. Yeah, it's a bit dumb, but then I found out that the reason behind it was a censorship, because apparently if they kept the cards looking like they were, like they actually do, it would have been seen as advertisement rather than a TV show, and it wouldn't have been allowed to air on the US market, which is weird because Transformers aired for years, and that was just an advertisement for the Transformers toys, and Pokemon aired and is airing for years, which is just an advertisement for the Pokemon games, right? So, but because this one isn't the same, where, you know, a Transformers toy is slightly different to actual Optimus Prime, so, but in this, they're not. So obviously they're not the Transformers playing with toys; they're actual characters. In this, the Pokemon are actual animals you're battling with. In Yu-Gi-Oh, the actual product is being used as the actual product. The cards are being sold and bought and traded and played with as actual trading cards, and that is, I suppose, where the problem lied. Is the show is literally advertising a product because the product is a key part of the show as a product, which made it difficult for US laws to get around, so they had to change the card design, which, so I get it, but it's dumb because it just leads to problems like, well, how the fuck are they reading those cards? And to be fair, the designs I don't think are as good. I mean, because they actually have to crop the art as well. If you look at it, so I always notice it with Blue Eyes White Dragon. If you look at Kaiba's Blue Eyes in the show, they actually, not much, but because they have to fit it to a different size, because it takes up now 3/4 of the card rather than just a little square, they cut out the art, and some of the art is actually missing. And I just think it was a bit of it was a necessary change, but it wasn't a good one. It never, I don't think, benefited the show in any way. It just made it so it was actually allowed to air, which I suppose is a good thing, but it's still a bit silly. But now I'm going to, oh, this one grinds my gears, talk about, oh, okay, we're all good, we're good. Talk about the change that they made that is the most ridiculous, and it's not even the fact that they removed the fact that Bandit Keith was an alcoholic gambler, or they removed any signs of blood, like when Pegasus had the Millennium Eye forced into his eye socket, or when he had it ripped out. Which obviously in the manga he died as well, but he didn't in the anime because he was a popular character. But yeah, so ignoring all of those things as well, which are all really dumb, we're going to talk about the one now that really grinds my gears, and that is the infamous finger guns in the Yu-Gi-Oh dub. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, in the Japanese there was a big use of guns, like security guards or people like Bandit Keith once held a gun to Pegasus's face. Most of Kaiba's security guys have guns. Most of Pegasus' security guys have guns. Most people seem to have guns, right? Which reminds me of a certain country, and this will get to my bugbear in a minute, right? So this is all happening, but because apparently in America, yeah, hang on, you heard that right, in America, right? Because apparently you can't show guns to kids, they just remove them, but instead of replacing them with something else, they just have the characters angrily point at the person they're talking at whilst threatening them. Therefore, you get the infamous finger guns, and it's just like, why? Like, in America of all places, right? I don't know about you, But when I think of America, I think guns, right? And not in a good way. Gun crime is abhorrent out there, and they need to, frankly, they should get rid of guns, right? I agree. They should get rid of them. I mean, right. So, I don't think Americans get this, right? And I think the best way we can try and explain it to them is like this. And I'm going to vent now, but it's whatever. So, you'll be like, so if I give you a gun, are you, no, not a gun. If I give you a, what's it called? Thing. If I give you a phone, are you more or less likely to phone someone? And they'll be like, well, maybe. I think, yeah, I'd be more likely to phone someone because now I actually have a phone. I'm like, yes, correct answer, American person. Good for you. You're not completely stupid. And then you just go, so if I give you a gun, are you more or less likely to shoot someone? And they'll be like, well, I think I'll be less likely to shoot someone because it's my institutional right to carry a firearm in case I'm in danger. And you're like, you're a fucking idiot, right? No, that's not. I don't care if it's on your Declaration of Independence, right? You know, we've got the Magna Carta, and frankly, the fact that we still follow some of it is a bit stupid. But I'm pretty sure we scrapped some of it because it was written very long time ago, right? Laws change, times change. Your Declaration of Independence was at a time when you had just finished a war, right? The British were still a looming threat. So you said, yeah, carry guns as a way of protecting you against the British enemy. That's fine, that's great. But you know what? You're no longer at war with the British anymore. Quite frankly, you're no longer at war. And you can say the Cold War, but that's not a war. That's just both of your leaders screaming like, no, I've got more toys than you. It's two children throwing their toys out the pram. That's what the Cold War is. Honestly, get over yourselves, right? So that's that. And then you're like, no, but I still have my right to carry my firearm. Why? Why? So you can shoot. So you can shoot someone. Shooting someone does not solve any problems, by the way. Right? Playing a children's card game does. Anyway, no. So it's a bit dumb. So your whole thing about carrying guns is stupid, right? Don't get me wrong, you know, it's illegal to carry a knife in this country, but we still have knife crime. However, we have nowhere near as much knife crime as Americans have gun crime because it is illegal to carry a knife. Whereas in America, land of the free, land of getting a bullet hole in the head, you're allowed to carry guns, right? So it's a bit dumb, okay? So yes, you should get rid of guns. But that being said, rant over, I would say I'm sorry, but I'm not. You need to realise this is a country. Anyone who complained when Obama tried to get rid of that law are fucking retards, right? Okay, so, because, I mean, gun crime's a problem. Do you not realise that's how you fix gun crime, is by banning gun? Anyway, whatever. So, yeah, so the country that's all for, no, I need a gun to protect my rights so I can shoot my neighbour, because I'm sure that's one of the 10 commandments, shoot thy neighbour, whatever. Or, yeah, okay. And but apparently guns aren't allowed in Yu-Gi-Oh because that's too sensitive for children. So showing it in a TV show is too sensitive, but the fact that their dad probably has one on their bedside table, that's fine, right? No, it's not. It's a bit. I think you got your priorities round the wrong way here, for kids, right? And then they even extend it to the cards. So Barrel Dragon, rather than having pistols for hands and as part of its face, now has weird lasery guns. X-Head Cannon no longer has cannons on its shoulders. It has weird lasery guns. However, in the anime, they actually forgot to censor that. So in the anime, it's still got the normal cannons, which, by the way, shoot energy blasts anyway. But maybe that was dubbed over, like, with censored. I don't know. But they still keep the cannons, but on the actual card, they change it, right? So, like, there are so many cards that, like, have guns and stuff, and they get censored to laser-type guns. And obviously you get the famous finger point of doom, ooh, and you just sit there thinking, for kids, what were you thinking? Like, what did you drink? But then, I mean, you get some really dumb lines in this dub as well, to be fair. Like, there's literally one where Taylor's like, oh, thank God you were in a coma, because if you weren't, they wouldn't have sent this helicopter to come and we would go. It's like, yeah, thanks for telling me, like, thanking me for being in a coma. Thanks, my homie. It's a bit, yeah, like shit like that's a bit weird. But yeah, the gun thing is the one that really winds me out because I'm like, in America of all countries, you're really gonna censor people from the sight of guns. I mean, there's probably about 5 around their house. Why are you not showing it in a cartoon? The Power Rangers have guns, yeah, albeit laser guns, but they've still got guns. Like, come on, you know, there were guns in Batman. There were guns in Spider-Man. And to be fair, they had to be turned into laser guns, but there were still guns. But this show, I don't even think the guns are fired. They just pull them out on people. They're not even shooting the guns. In shows like Batman, they're pew, pew, pew. In this one, they just pull it out. Okay, sorry, bad choice of words, but they just point and but now because of censorship, I will angrily point in your direction, good sir. Why? But as I say, but they don't censor any other weapons. Swords are fine, but scissors are not. Axes are fine, scissors are not. Scythes are fine, scissors are not. People being impaled by monster claws and ripped to shreds and bitten alive by bats and flaming swords and being literally disintegrated by blasts of laser and being eternally tormented in the Shadow Realm. That's all fine, but scissors are not. And don't get me wrong, Konami has now been releasing, because a lot of the card censors are Konami's fault. The anime is for kids, the cards are Konami's like US division. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the lost arts are being released. So you're getting, I think, Edgem Sabers and like the rest of the Frightful series are sort of getting the ones where you can actually see the blades and stuff, which is cool. You know, that's nice. But like at the same time, why do you censor it in the first place? Like certain things, I say, like sexualized stuff, fine. But then you've got other cards. I think it's like, oh, is it? No, yeah, I think like Tragedy. That's one that gets a bit weird. You've got Parasite in the original art. The parasite is sort of crawling its way through someone's face. In the English art, it's just a bug. You've got what's it? Dramatic Rescue. That's the one. In the original art, the woman's got a hand stuck in a guillotine. The guillotine is falling, and he's going to save her. In the dub version, she's tied to a tree with two guards facing away from her as the other guy tries to race out. You've got Card of Demise. In the original art, the guy sort of putting his hand through a guillotine to reach the cards, trying to reach it. But in the English one, they just show the cards being chopped by a guillotine, which frankly is more painful to me as a Yu-Gi-Oh player. The Last Day of the Witch, to be fair, I mean, that one's got a cross in it from what I remember. That's why, but it's implying a witch is about to be burnt at the stake because she's kneeling with a guard by her, and there's, I think, well, from what I remember, in the corner it looks like a crucifix. But they really just changed the art to like a cartoon witch laughing with a stop sign over her in the English one, which is a bit silly. Why? Oh, I'm trying to think of more cards, man. Yeah, I mean, you know when you're just trying to think, there's so many. Oh yeah, dead people, right? If there's a dead person in it, right? They change them from blue to not blue anymore. I don't get it. I mean, if they're blue, they look more like zombies, and that's probably more acceptable than just a dead guy. But it's fine. Honestly, it's good. No problem with it whatsoever. Oh yeah, Ultimate Offering. That was in the Japanese version. It's a guy. There's like blood in the background. I think it's Leo gun in the background as well. But there's drops of blood falling from this guy's hand into like this thing, and that is the Ultimate Offering. In the English version, there's just a fat geezer with a blood-like creature jumping out of his face. It's just a bit weird, isn't it? Like, and like, yeah, say like the Imperial Order guy, the Naked Emperor, Naked King, like that one I don't get. Why was he not allowed to wear a shirt? I mean, don't get me wrong. From what I remember from the Japanese art, he was wearing a crucifix. But you just get rid of the crucifix. You don't need to give him a full-on vest just because he's fat. Oh no, hang on. This one's you'll like this one. Archfiend Heiress. Because in the original one there was an energy ball covering her hand. People were like, "Oh no, it looks like she could be flipping someone off." So they removed the energy ball just so you can see her hand. Yeah, it's silly. The Dark Ruler, Hades, removed his horns from any cards he's in. He's in a lot of cards, like Skill Drain and stuff. It's quite bad. Oh yeah, Final Flame. Okay, that was a bit bad. Originally, it was a guy sort of attached to, once again, a crucifix. I mean, to be fair, even if it was just a regular wooden stake, I feel like this would have been censored. But he's burning alive. In the other one, it's just a monster disintegrating with fire around him. Maybe because it's not a human this time, he's tied to something. I don't really know. I mean, I say, even if it wasn't a crucifix, I feel like that one would have been censored. Yeah, any women that have boobs, which is all of them in real life, you're not allowed boobs. You've got to be as flat chested as possible, because women don't have those in real life. You can't see them as a child. Your mum has them, but you can't look at them. They're like the whole gun problem, really. Like, oh no, my mum's got boobs, but this character in a TV show can't, which I don't get, because my Valentine and Taya Gardner, they still get their big ones, and I get Taya's covered up, like she's wearing like a full on that shirt, but mine's not. And so, what's the difference between her and a monster card? Like, she's actually a human. I don't, whatever. Oh yeah, no, I just remember another one, because I own this card, Gimmick Puppet Dreary Doll, in the sort of international release. She's just a bit banged up. She's got a bandage on her and stuff, and she's a doll in a box. That's fine. In the original, she was in a coffin, and she's got like blood stains and like blood blotches on her bandages, which is, I mean, she's a doll. She's not even a real person, but yeah, she's not allowed to look as creepy, so she's not even in a coffin anymore. She's in a box with a bow on it. This is meant to be a creepy. The Gimmick Puppets are a creepy set of cards, but no, it's a box with a bow on it, and no blood on any of the bandages, and no blood coming from her eyes, which I get is a bit weird, but I just, it's fine. Oh, you've got cards like, was it Junk something? He was the cover art for a box, Junk Enforcer or something. He had like a head near where his crotch was, so that was removed, because that's not allowed. The same sort of thing for a Flying Fortress Skyfire. Originally, he had like ammo thing in his crotch area, but that was removed because it looks like a penis. Apparently, it's just a bit dumb, really, isn't it? Like, any blood or anything like that. Yeah, Tragedy was removed from just a guillotine to a woman going, ah, and a man in a hat with a red moon behind it. I'm not even making this up. You can look this shit up. Right? This is all real, and it's just dumb. And I just, censorship got stupid, and it still is stupid, and I'm glad they're finally releasing lost arts for these cards, because a lot of the time the original arts look better, because it is quite a dark gaming concept, and sometimes you need to embrace that rather than the shitty job that 4Kids do to cover it up. So yeah, and the gun thing, just, yeah, whatever. So for now, I'm gonna say, sort of, 4Kids, whilst you gave me one of my most beloved anime of my childhood, um, your censoring department has miserably failed, and as has US Konami for some of your flipping awful censorships of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So you have both failed miserably. Censoring is dumb, and 4Kids isn't going to care about this because they don't exist anymore. But Konami USA, your censorship is dumb, but do still hit me up, because I still have my idea for real life sort of holographic style duels. That's a great idea. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for listening, guys. I went on a bit of a rant this week, a bit of a rage-fueled rant. But this is what King's Eyes wanted. He wanted more things to fail, because he knows I rant more, get more angry, and apparently people find that funnier. So you got what you asked for. More failing, more anger, more rants. So I do really hope you enjoyed, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, I'll speak to you next week.